A photographer here in Lake Hiawatha. I have this photograph that many of you probably have seen before. It's of Lower Lake Hiawatha, Lakeshore Drive, right over here. But now I've been informed that the local library just received a donation a uh, from a grandchild of a former resident of Lake Hiawatha, somebody that moved into the town in 1931 and lived here for about 50 years. And they had a photo album of a bunch of photographs, beautiful photographs of Lake Hiawatha that I had never seen, and I think most people had never seen. It's probably been in this person's house for a very, very long time. And the photo, so I found out about it and I went to check them out, and I found one photo in it that is an extension of this photograph that you probably already have seen. And I'm going to blend it into this photo and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. It's going to appear here on the right side and overlaying this section of the other photograph. So here we go, overlaying it now. You'll start seeing it soon. Right there, there you go. Let's undo that. So you can see the photo now, and I'm going to take it out like that. I'm gonna put it in at full 100 opacity, so you could see the new photograph is right here, the newly found photograph. And now it shows us. It doesn't show us Lakeshore Drive because Lakeshore Drive is on right here on the other photo, but it shows us the same house, and it's literally seems to be taken from the same angle and the same height, because when I delete the other photo, you could see the photo in color here, and when you bring it back, it's the same house in the same spot. And here we see the river, and this is River Drive. Today there's a wall that goes here, and this right here is I think it's pronounced Huron Avenue, this little road here. And so I was trying to figure out exactly what this was. And now combining both photos, it's quite clear what it is. This is currently this section, which at the time seems to have been a parking lot for the beach. There was a beach in town. Lake Hiawatha was basically founded as a getaway town for New Yorkers to come. They would buy cabins like the ones you see in the photos. And on weekends, they would come here to spend the weekend and go swimming and hang out. And that's what's happening here. You have a whole bunch of cars that are parked to go to the beach. You got one person walking to the beach. The beach would be to the right over here. In today's world, it's not the beach anymore. It's the Lake Hiawatha Swim Club, and I'll show you on a map of what we're looking at. So this is a map from above. We got the lake here, you got the river right here, and you have the pool. Back then in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and I think into the 60s, the pool didn't exist. This was sand, and people would swim in the lake. Nowadays, that's not possible. It's kind of swampy. But the photograph that we see is probably taken from right about here, where I put the C. And the view we have in the both photographs combined is pretty much this here. We see Lakeshore Drive, and we see further up, of course, and then we see the river. We see River Drive, Huron Avenue. Here's the house that we see in the photograph, in both photographs. The thing is, today this house doesn't exist anymore. So this Google map image must be a little bit older, because this house was lost I think in the 2011 storm when this whole area flooded, and they had to knock down this house. So there's an empty lot here now. And this section here is now a park. It's the Lake Hiawatha Park. There's a memorial for, I think, Vietnam, for two residents that lived here that died in Vietnam. It could have been Korean War, but I can't recall now. So this here back then seemed to have been a parking lot, and there seems to be a power line here. This power line is not in the park anymore. It's in the parking lot of Lake Hiawatha Swim Club, right over here. So from what I gather, back then, this power line was about right here, at least from the angle that I'm seeing the photograph. I don't think the photograph was taken any further back, because the power line is way too close to this house for it to be all the way back here, and the house is all the way over here. So I think the power line is right here. Here's Huron Avenue and the house. Now, obviously, the camera angle is elevated, as you can see here in both photographs. In both photographs, it's quite elevated. And the other interesting thing is that not only is it elevated, but it's literally from the exact same spot, because everything matches perfectly, right? One detail, which photo is older and which photo is newer? Well, I was able to figure that out by looking at the trees. If you look at the trees here, in this photograph, they seem to have just been planted, maybe that year, okay? And if you look at the color photo, by the way, this is a colorized photo that I colorized, so originally it's black and white. So if you look at the colorized photo, the trees are a little bit bigger. They look to be maybe a year or two, maybe 3 years older, probably 2 years older. Maybe a tree specialist would know better, but that looks to be about 2 years older. So this photograph came first, probably in the 30s. Somebody that knows cars maybe can tell us what year these cars are. I'm not a car specialist. So are these cars from the early 30s, late 30s? And so this photo came first. And then a couple of years later, somebody took this photograph, and they look to be from the exact same spot. So what were they on top of to take this photograph? So that led me to this photo. Let's see if I could find it. Not that photo. Not that photo. But this photo. Now this photograph is from inside the beach area. Okay? And here is the power line, right? I think that this right here, this section right here, is what we see in this photograph here, this, if I'm not mistaken. So what we're seeing here then is the power line over there. The parking lot's probably right about here. This might be the house we see. It might not. There might be another house behind this structure here. And but here's an interesting detail. You see this wall right here? This wall was like a racquetball wall or something. It still exists. This photograph over here, I took like last year at the swim club, and this wall is still there. I had no idea that this wall was that old. And if you compare them, you can see that they are exactly the same wall, or at least very, very similar and in the same spot. They're, so that brings me to the question: if the photograph, see, here's the wall in the view. that little structure in the club was right about here. Could the photo have been taken from here? It could have, but it seems to be a little far away because of just the angle. Even though it would match the power line location today, which is right here, if the camera was right here. But I still feel that it's a little too far away to match this camera angle over here. Maybe they use the zoom lens, makes it look a little closer. I don't know. But this power line seems way too close to the house to be that far in this photo, because this is pretty far. I'm thinking the power line used to be over here, and then eventually it was moved further, closer to the river. Maybe somebody knows. Maybe somebody in the town lived here decades ago, might know, or there's a way to investigate that too. I actually, now I'm thinking about it, I have photos from different decades like this from above, and I'll be able to look and see if I see a power line here back then. But back then in the early 30s, this was all new. All these streets were still being drawn in. The houses were just beginning to be built. And so I guess things probably change very quickly. Just have to do some investigative work. But yeah, so that's what this little photo adds on to. It just makes this photo a little bit wider, and solves a couple of little mysteries and creates a few other ones. But yeah, I don't know what the library is going to do exactly with that book of photographs, but I went through them, and it was really nice to see those photos. A lot of photos of the original houses, and some other beach photos, and a few other interesting things like some businesses on Beverwick Road back in the 30s. Just a really interesting and important local historic document that thankfully that relative of the resident that lived here donated to the library instead of just tossing it. So that's amazing, and that was really great. I hope you guys enjoyed the video there, and thanks for watching.